Let me share a wild story that doubles as a heads-up for spouses out there about what can happen when you constantly push your partner away, if you catch my drift. 4 years I've been married to my husband, 27 years to be exact, and I've been shutting him down repeatedly, leaving him feeling worthless and unwanted. I've been with my guy for 3 decades, hitched for 27 of those years, and we were sweethearts back in high school, tying the knot right after graduation. Looking back, jumping into marriage so young might have been a bit impulsive. My husband always took care of me, especially when I wanted to stay home after our first kid came along. He wasn't thrilled about it at first, but he stepped up, worked hard, and made sure our family was provided for. Over time we had 5 kids, 3 girls and 2 boys, and I stayed home raising them while he was the sole breadwinner. I mean, how does he even manage that kind of pressure? As the years rolled by, I just wasn't feeling romantic anymore. My husband started pointing out that I never took the lead in our intimate moments, or even showed small gestures like cuddling up to him. I avoided snuggling because I worried it'd give him the wrong idea and lead to intimacy I wasn't up for. I know raising kids, especially when they're little, is no walk in the park, but he was out there dealing with the grind of work and providing everything financially. And I couldn't even cozy up with him to watch a movie like Gladiator, his favorite that he rewatches constantly. He'd ask to spoon, but I'd shut it down, not wanting it to turn into anything more. He mostly accepted it, but as time went on, he got more vocal about how frustrated he was. He said we were only intimate maybe 2 or 3 times a month, and it had been years since I'd done certain things he enjoyed, like being more affectionate in private. I also stopped letting him get close in other ways because I just wasn't into it. He noticed I only showed affection when we were out in public, like holding his hand for a photo or posting something sweet online to look like the perfect couple. 2 or 3 times a month might not sound like nothing, but for him it wasn't enough to feel connected. He kept trying to make things work, telling me over and over that he felt unloved, but I'd turn it around, make him feel guilty, and he'd end up apologizing. He even suggested we try couples counseling or therapy on our own, but I flat out refused. In my mind I had him locked in. He wasn't going anywhere, no matter how much I rejected him or made him feel small. I figured I could keep doing whatever I wanted and he'd stick around. Boy, was I wrong. Truth is, I only wanted to be intimate when I felt like it, maybe once or twice a month, and even then, I thought that should be plenty for him. Sometimes when we were together, I'd rush him because I didn't like how long it took or how sweaty he got after 45 minutes. Honestly, I started questioning if I was even into him that way anymore. It got to the point where I'd hide personal hygiene items after my cycle or pretend I was still on it just to dodge his attempts to get close. I do love my husband, but I'll admit he could act a bit immature when he felt deprived, so I just go through the motions, barely participating, avoiding kisses, and treating it like a chore. It's definitely a me problem, and I don't know why I feel this way, but nobody should be forced into intimacy they don't want. That said, it's clear our bedroom situation wasn't healthy, and he had every right to be upset. If the roles were reversed and he wasn't providing for the family, I'd have been livid, but here he was, doing everything for us, and I couldn't meet him halfway. One day, it hit me. I couldn't remember the last time my husband touched me affectionately. He used to playfully pat me as he walked by, compliment my looks, or pull me into a random hug, but that had stopped. He still kissed me goodbye before work, kissed me when he got home, and gave me a peck before bed. But it felt mechanical, like he was just going through the motions. I tried to kiss him more passionately a few times, but he kept his lips sealed, and it stung to feel that rejection. Now I was getting a taste of what I'd been dishing out for years. I noticed he was acting distant, spending more time going on walks with our boys or focusing on one of our sons when we were lying in bed together. One night I tried to spoon him, hoping it'd lead to something, but he completely ignored me, and it messed with my head. I started convincing myself he was cheating. It didn't help that he'd begun wearing arm and leg weights when he went on walks with the boys, and I jumped to the conclusion that he was trying to look good for someone else. I spilled my fears to my sisters and friends, and they looked at me like I was out of my mind. They pointed out that my husband's routine was predictable. He went to work, came home, and spent his time doing chores like chopping wood, fixing things in the garage, or driving the kids around like the family taxi. He didn't have guys' nights or hang out anywhere else. When would he even have time for an affair? I couldn't come up with an answer. By now, our kids were mostly in high school or older, so it's not like I was stuck at home with toddlers. I could have gotten a job or found something to focus on, but instead I was spiraling, wondering how I'd let things get this bad. With 5 kids in the house, all old enough to handle most of the chores, I don't have a ton on my plate these days. Honestly, I could have used that time to focus on myself, maybe get a hobby or a part-time job, but instead I've just been coasting. The truth is, I'm not really into my husband anymore, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm just not into guys at all, I'm not sure. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. It had been 6 whole months since we'd been intimate. 6 months since he'd touched me beyond the usual quick pecks goodbye or good night. Everything came crashing down one night when I tried to spark something. I stepped out of the shower, slipped into a robe, stood at the foot of our bed, and let it drop to reveal some fancy lingerie I'd put on for him. He barely glanced at me, rolled his eyes, flicked off the light, and muttered good night. That rejection stung bad, and it gave me a taste of how he'd been feeling all these years. I was mortified, tears streaming down my face, and I asked if he was seeing someone else. He turned the light back on, stared at me with this blank, emotionless look, and said he's not attracted to me anymore. He's done. I'd pushed him too far, just like anyone can be pushed past their breaking point if you keep rejecting them. He wasn't chasing other women, but he was checked out of our marriage. I was floored, and before I could get a word in, he laid it all out. I'd shut him down for so long that he no longer wanted me that way. He listed every way I'd dodged intimacy, hiding personal hygiene items, claiming I was still on my cycle, you name it. I tried to explain that maybe menopause was messing with me, but he shot back, asking what my excuse was for all the years before that. He brought up how I never initiated, how we rarely cuddled while watching TV or lying in bed, how I'd rather zone out to commercials than be close to him. I'd even stay up late on purpose to avoid promising intimacy. He felt unloved, unwanted, and constantly rejected, and that kind of thing wears a person down. The guy's in his late 40s, still full of energy and plenty capable of moving on. If he wanted, he could navigate the chaotic modern dating world, maybe even find someone younger and have a fresh start. He reminded me how he'd tried for years to tell me he was unhappy, but I'd flip it around, guilt-trip him, and make him feel like the bad guy. So, he gave up trying to connect with me. I asked again if he was having an affair, and he just laughed, saying no, but he dropped a bombshell. He's planning to ask for a divorce once our youngest graduates high school next year. Maybe it wasn't smart for him to tip his hand like that, but it showed how done he was. He didn't care anymore. He'd rather face a divorce, deal with alimony, and let me keep the house than stay in this mess. The kids are almost adults, so child support won't be a long-term issue. But still he's ready to walk away, even if it means starting over with nothing. I felt like I couldn't breathe when he said that. He explained he'd already drafted a plan to give me the house as a lump sum alimony payment, but he was done breaking his back to save our marriage. He said he'd stay faithful to his vows, but he was finished with the rejection and feeling like I only valued him for what he provided. I broke down, sobbing, trying to tell him how much I loved him. But he cut me off, saying I only loved the life he gave me, not him as a person. That hit hard, and I cried even more, realizing his actions showed he'd been nothing but a provider to me all these years. I suggested couples counseling, but he flat out refused. Funny how I'd shot down that same idea when he brought it up years ago, so I couldn't exactly blame him for saying no now. In a desperate move, I tried to get physical with him, but that backfired. He left the bedroom and slept somewhere else in the house. The next morning I made him breakfast, hoping to smooth things over. He came in, gave me a robotic good morning kiss, ate, and kissed me again before heading out for work, but it all felt cold and mechanical. Once the kids left for school, I lost it, crying alone in the kitchen before calling my sisters for help. I'd been acting like an emotionless robot toward him for years, so I guess I deserve to feel that way now. It's crazy how fast things flipped. When a guy starts pulling away and you realize he might actually leave, it shakes you to your core. I used to think he'd never go anywhere, but now that he's indifferent, I'm panicking. When my sisters came over, I spilled everything he'd said. They asked if it was true, and when I admitted it was, they didn't hold back. They scolded me, asking why I'd never told them how I'd been shutting him out of our intimate life. My younger sister warned me I'd better fix this fast. My husband's not just my partner. He's like a big brother and father figure to them and their kids. My oldest sister calls him the backbone of our family and said I'd royally messed up. I don't even know where to start fixing this. My sisters weren't blindly taking my side like I expected. They respect him too much for that. They tried brainstorming ways to save my marriage, and my youngest sister, half joking, suggested I ask for advice on Reddit, which made the others roll their eyes. But I'm desperate. He's the only man I've ever loved, and I know I took him for granted. I need help figuring out how to make this right. I'm scared because I can see now that my actions showed I didn't care enough. I did the bare minimum to keep him around, and that was it. He's a good man. My sisters adore him, and he's got options if he leaves. Sure, a divorce will hit him hard financially, but he's tough enough to rebuild. The kids are almost grown, with our oldest already out of high school, so he's probably thinking it's now or never. I pushed him too far, and after 27 years, he's finally done. It's wild how powerful it is when a guy becomes indifferent. It flipped a switch in me, and now I'm scrambling to fix things, knowing he could walk away. I wish I'd realized sooner that taking him for granted would lead to this. I want to save my marriage, but I'm terrified it's too late.